Semoga be.
Okay. A very good morning. Uh, so in our last class, we discussed about so many types of a non-conventional source of energies or renewable source of energies. Uh, if you list one by one, first thing we discussed about a solar energy. A solar energy means it is directly energy from the sun. The total solar radiation is absorbed by the earth and its atmosphere is 3.8 into 10 raised to 24 joules per year. So this much of energy is available on the earth crust by the solar. So this is a one type of renewable energy, and from this solar energy we can do a lot of applications, and in that main application is solar heating, water heating. One is water heating purpose, and second is directly we can convert this solar energy into electric energy. And applications, we know that so many solar water heaters installed on most of the houses. Okay, one thing. And second thing, with a photovoltaic cell or solar cell, we can convert that solar energy into electric energy. So this is the first type of solar energy. This is discussed in our earlier class. Next, after to the solar energy, we go with the second important type is wind energy. So wind energy means it is the energy of a wind, and that energy directly converted into either mechanical or electrical energy. Means the kinetic energy of that wind is available on the atmosphere is about 7.5 into 10 raised to 20 joules. So this much of energy is available by the wind, and we can successfully we can able to convert that wind energy into, or that kinetic energy into electric energy, or we can convert that wind energy into mechanical energy. So either we can convert mechanical or electrical energy. And applications, we can see a lot of windmills or wind turbines are available to convert these energy into one form to another form, and they are installed in the small scale, in the medium scale, and in the large scale. And after the wind energy, we discussed about the biomass. Biomass means it's an indirect form of solar energy. I already discussed. And the total solar radiation absorbed by the plant means this is what the energy which is absorbed by the plants or animals. And that plants and animals, we get the biomass, and that biomass we can convert to bioenergy. And this is about 1.3 into 10 to 21 joules per year. So this much of energy is available by this biomass, and this energy directly converted into heat energy. Yeah, first we can that biomass energy into heat energy, then heat energy to electrical energy or any other form of energies. And this heat energy applications is majorly for the cooking purpose, and for the heating purpose, and smelting purpose, and etc. And this bioenergy is also in the form of biodiesels, and this is a transportation purpose. Means we can convert this bioenergy into the so many alcohol, either methane, ethane, this type of alcohol for the transportation purpose, or else you can convert this biogas as gobar gas is the best example. We can convert this, and most of the villages they are using this gobar gas for the cooking purpose. So this is what the applications of biomass. And after the biomass, we discussed geothermal energy. Geothermal energy means there is energy buried under the earth crust. Okay, so this energy means the heat. It is also a type of heat energy. The heat flux from the earth interior through this surface is 9.5 into 10 raised to 20 joules per year. So 9.5 into 10 raised to 20 joules per year, that much of energy is available from the geothermal energy. And this energy we can use for the low temperature, of course it is a low temperature applications, and this is for heating purpose, bathing purpose, or water heatings or electric generation purpose also we can used. And this is also installed in the power plant, like small scale and medium scale and heavy power generation applications. After the geothermal energy, we discussed a tidal or wave energy. So tidal energy, I told it is an because of the high tide and low tide. So high tide, it is a level, it's more than the average level of sea. It is called flood tides, and if it is a more less than that average level of sea, it is called ebb tides. Because of this ebb tides and flood tides, we get the energy, and that energy can directly convert into electric energy. So this is approximately 10 to 26 joules per year. So this much of energy is available, and this tidal energy is just due to because of the moon and the sun. directly because of the moon and the sun. It causes the tides, and the tides we can convert one form to another form. Okay. And after the tides we go with the waves. Waves means it is a wave on the mid of the sea or mid of the oceans. So these waves we can convert that wave energy into the electric energy. So we can generate the electric energy, and this is 10 raised to 18 joules. So 10 raised to 18 joules, that much of amount of energy is available, and this is just due to because of the wind energy causes the waves in the ocean. Okay. And after that we discussed the hydro energy. Hydro energy means indirectly it's a water energy. So it is also because of the indirect form of solar energy. It causes evaporation and condensation, and in the form of rain again back into the earth surface, collected in a one zone called a dam, and we can convert that kinetic energy into the potential energy into the kinetic energy, then kinetic into the electric energy. So it's an another form of renewable source of energy. It is 1.1 10 raised to 17 joules, that much of joules, that much of energy is available, and we successfully convert that energy into electric energy, and that electric energy will fulfill our day-to-day life needs. And also we discussed tar sand and oil shells. Tar sand and oil shells, these are the substances are obtained on the earth crust. Tar sand means from the tar sand we can get the bitumina. So that bitumina we can use as a synthetic oil, and that synthetic oil we can convert that heat energy, or we can generate the electricity. And oil shells, from the oil shells, it is a rock type of substances found on the earth crust, and from that we can extract the kerosene. So that kerosene is also a crude oil, synthetic crude oil, and that can use for the any so many applications, like in the boilers we can use, for in the power generation we can use. And the last one, nuclear. And nuclear energy, it's a, there are two types of energy. One is a fusion and fusion, and we know that by the continuous chain reaction we get a lot of energies from that, either combining or either splitting the atoms. And nuclear power generators are successfully installed in so many areas, either in the India or in the foreign countries, just to fulfill or just to slow down the consumption of continuous consumption of conventional energies like coal and petroleum. So these are all different types of energies we discussed in our class. Okay. And the last bit of this first bit is a difference between conventional source of energy and non-conventional source of energy. With this we'll complete a half module. Half module means in the first module we complete one complete question. So the first conventional source of energy. So in the screen you can able to see the conventional source of energy and non-conventional source of energies. There are difference. The first we go with the conventional source of energy. These source of energies are not abundant. Conventional source of energies are not abundantly available, and they are available in a limited quantity. Example: coal, petroleum, natural gas. But when come to the non-conventional source of energy, these are available abundantly on the earth crust, and the example is the solar energy, wind energy, tidal energy, biomass. They are abundantly and they are freely available on the earth crust. Second difference is they have been used for the long time. Of course, conventional energy sources are very easy to use, so that they have been used from the so many long years. But non-conventional source of energies, they are not at the developed phase. They are from past few years we are using this non-conventional source of energies. And the third difference is they are not replenished continuously. They are formed they are formed over a million of years. These conventional source of energies are, they are not replenished continuously, and they are replenished means they are not continuously generated. They are formed over a million of years. They are million of years back. These are all formed on the earth crust. But these non-conventional source of energies, they are we can regenerate easily, and by they are obtained on the natural process. And the next difference is they are called as a non-renewable source of energy. Of course, conventional energies are called as a non-renewable source of energy, and non-conventional source of energies are called as a renewable source of energies. And they can be exhausted completely due to the over continuous consumption. Of course, conventional source of energies are non-renewable source of energies. If you use continuously the same manner, the same rate, and in a few more year, these source of energies will completely exhaust. But come to the non-conventional source of energy, if you can use continuously over a period of time, over 100 years, 200 years, they won't exhaust because they are renewable source of energies. Next is from the conventional energy sources, the pollutant of the they are very much causes the pollution, air pollution, water pollution. Okay, so they causes pollution because of the, and also they contribute for the global warming. But non-conventional sources, most of the non-conventional source of energies are non-pollutant, like hydro, solar, they are wind. They are completely non-pollutant. They won't produce any air pollution or water pollution. And come to the conventional source of energy, they are commonly used for the industrial and commercial purpose. Of course, they are, because of more efficiency, they are most used in the industrial and commercial purpose. But non-conventional source of energies are not most commonly used in the industries and commercial purpose. Only they are used in the domestic purpose, household purpose, because the efficiency is a bit more less than the conventional source of energies. Heavy expenditure involved in the using in maintaining the source of energy, of course, in the conventional source. But in the non-conventional source, they are using in source less expensive because they are freely available on the earth crust. And the last difference is they are used extensively at a higher rate than the non-conventional source of energies. Of course, conventional sources are used most commonly. Just take an example: windmills are rarely found on the nearby your areas, correct? But electricity supply for our area is continuously from the either from the nuclear power plants or in the hydro power plants. Okay, and they are used extensively in a conventional source. So these are the main differences of conventional source and non-conventional source, or renewable or non-renewable energy sources. Okay. So with this, we successfully completed one module. First question we completed, and we move on to the next bit. That is what solar radiation. So in the first module only, in the first module, second bit is solar radiation and measurement of solar radiation. In the solar radiation, the extraterrestrial radiation, a spectral distribution of the extraterrestrial radiation, solar constant, solar radiation at the Earth's surface, beam, diffuse, and global radiation, and solar radiation data. This much we will discuss. And in the measurement of solar radiations, we go with a pyranometer, shading ring pyrolimeter, and sunshine recorder, and schematic diagram, and principle of working. So in the 2 to 3 classes, I'm going to finish off all these things. Yes. Next topic is solar radiation. So we already knew that solar radiation is just because of the sun. Sun is the ultimate cause for this solar radiation or solar energy. Ultimate source for solar energy is sun. And you peoples already studied in your schooling days or in your PUC what is meant by solar, what is meant by sun, what is meant by our universe, everything, what is our solar system. Okay, so which are the planets are there, what is the mass of sun, what is the distance from the sun to earth, everything you already studied. But apart from that, I'm going to highlight some of the important points regarding this sun. So, in general, the energy produced by and radiated by the sun, more specifically in the refers to the sun energy, and reaches on the earth. The solar energy received in the form of radiation. Always this solar energy we are not directly received by heat energy from the sun to earth. We are receiving only a sun rays or a radiation, solar radiations. We are receiving from the sun to earth in the form of solar radiation. So that solar radiations having an amount of heat, and that heat we successfully can convert one form to another form with the help of so many devices that we will discuss in later chapter. And the sun is the G2 type star. Sun comes under the G2 type star. G2 means it is an hottest star. It is a hottest, very hottest star in yellow color. Okay, if it is in yellow color, it is comes in the G. If it is in the red color, it is comes in the M or L type. Okay, so here the sun is comes under the G2. G2 means it is a hottest star in yellow color. Okay, that's why it is a G2 type star. One of course sun is a star. So because they will self generating energies and they will eliminate or emit the radiations to give the light or heat energy for the other planets. But earth is not a star, it is a planet. The sun is a star, of course, and one of the 100 million stars. Of course, there are n number of millions of stars are there. In that, sun is the it's very near to our Earth. Okay, and this type of our in the galaxy. And in the galaxy there are so many of course there are galaxy and there are universe. uh, there are billions of galaxies forms the universe. Okay, and in the galaxies so many stars will forms the galaxies. Okay, like this solar system will form by the sun and the planets. These things you already studied. Okay, and come to the specification of sun. The diameter of the sun, is 113 lakh 90,000 kilometer. The diameter of the sun is 13 lakh 90,000 kilometer. The earth diameter is only 12,742 kilometer, which is nearly or more than 100 times. If you compare with the sun and earth, sun is 100 or more than 100 times greater than the earth, because earth only 12,000 but sun is 13 lakh. So diameter wise also, area wise also, sun is very greater than the earth. If you come to the mass of the sun is 1.1989 into 10 raised to 30 kg. Means it is nearly the 3,33,000 times mass of the earth. If you compare, mass of the earth is 1 kg, then the mass of the sun is nearly 3,33,000. Means 3,33,000 times greater than the mass of the earth. Means if the sun mass is 3,33,000 times greater than the mass of the earth. Diameter wise also sun is greater, and mass wise also sun is greater. If we come to the temperature wise, the temperature of the sun is nearly 5,800 K. 5,800 K at the surface. We are not going into the core, only the surface temperature of the sun. If for the core temperature, which is nearly 1 crore 56 lakhs 1 crore 56 lakhs K, means in the core, means in the center of the sun, inside the sun center, the temperature is 1 crore 56 lakhs K. But on the surface, outer layer, surface is so far from the core, the temperature is 5,800 K. Okay, it is that much of Kelvin. And the sun contains 99.8 of the total mass of the solar system. Means in the solar system, whatever the mass is there, that mass is 99.8% is from the sun only. And come to the chemical composition, the main composition of this sun is hydrogen. It is 92.1 percentage, and helium 7.8 percentage, and other elements, so many other n number of elements are there, and they are in the 0.1 percentage. Totally it will forms the 100 percentage. So the major constituent of the sun is hydrogen. So hydrogen splitting and hydrogen combining will forms the lot of energies. That is either fusion or fusion reaction taking place in the sun. That is hydrogen splitting or hydrogen combining. That forms uh, that gives a lot of energies, and that energy comes from sun to earth in the form of purely solar radiation. Okay, and this solar radiation can convert either to the heat energy or to the electric energy or any useful form of energies we can convert. Since the sun is expected to radiate at an essentially constant rate, there has to eliminate constant rate of solar radiation. by the few billion of years, and it may be regarded as an inexhaustible source of energies. And the major drawback of this extensive application of solar energy, of course, if you use continuously, there are some drawbacks are there. Means the sun is continuously eliminating constant solar radiation from sun to the earth from the billions of years, not from the 100 years, 1000 years, or 6000 years, or BC or AC. It is billion years. From the billion years, also the sun is continuously eliminates constantly the radiation to the earth, sun to the earth. And some of the drawbacks of this sun energy continuous applications are the means the intermediate and variable manner. This is not the continuously constantly available. It is intermediate and it is variable in manner. Okay, means maximum at the one point and minimum at the another point. It is not constantly producing. That is the first drawback. And the large area required. The another drawback is for collection of this solar, we need a large area. We have to install so many devices on the earth surface. Means it need a large area and it is intermediate and variable in nature. These are the two drawbacks. Apart from these two drawbacks, there is a lot of advantages of this solar energy. And this is what the sun and earth relationship. Sun and the earth relationship. I just told this is the diameter of the earth and this is the diameter of the sun, if you assume that. And this is the distance from sun to earth. I already explained the diameter of the sun and the earth, and the mass of the sun and the earth, and also temperature of the sun and earth. And the temperature of the earth is, you know that atmospheric temperature, it is of 36, 37. It is varies from 0 degree in the south and north pole, even less than 0 degree in the south and north pole, to the maximum temperature of 40, 45 degree. In the desert areas, even it reaches 50 degree. So that is the maximum. So atmospheric, from that the temperature variations takes place from minus to plus 50 degree. In our area, the maximum temperature is 36, 37, 38. It's the maximum temperature, and the maximum temperature is at the noon time, and also the temperature reduces in the either morning or in the evening time. And this is the distance from the sun to earth is nearly 1.459 into 10 raised to plus 11. It's a m, that light year we can call it as a, okay, a plus or minus 1.7 percentage. And these are the solar constants, okay, that we will discuss in the later class. What is meant by solar constant? The solar constant GSG, we can call it as a solar constant, that we will discuss the whatever the energy is from the sun to earth. And this is at 32 degree, that much of from these angles we get the solar radiations. And here another figure, you can see the sun is a yellow color actually, but it appears like a white. And this is what the earth is continuously revolving around the sun, and for one complete revolution we need an either 365 or 366 days, a leap year. And and this is a July 4th and January 3. So it is called as a Aplinio, and this is called as a Perilineo. These are the 2 days. Means the distance varies. Here the distance is only so 15 1,52,500 kilometers, and here the distance will reduces 1,47,500 kilometers because of this orientation. So it also varies the distance. Means the sun while rotating earth, sun is the center point, and through the center point earth will revolving itself, as well as revolving itself and also revolving around the sun. And this movement, it is not constant. Means the distance of sun and earth varies through the revolving. In a one day, it may be some kilometers, and in the next day, it may increase or it may decreases. Okay, so this is what the variation, the distance variation. And next is this is what the sun solar spectrum, and means so here the sun rays from the sun to earth reaches through the so many wavelength, not in a one wavelength. It will reaches from sun to earth in a so many wavelengths. Okay, a smaller wavelength, higher wavelength. Okay, it is in terms of microns, like this. uh, First, uh, l- lower energy means longer wavelength. If they are longer wavelength, it having a lower energy. If higher energy, they are having the shorter wavelength. So longer wavelength are called electric waves, the shorter waves, ultra shorter waves, microwave. Okay, next it is comes in the infrared light, visible light, and ultraviolet light. We can able to see only in the visible light, and these visible lights are red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, violet. These are the rays of lights, visible lights. The human can easily see this. And infrared light can seen by it is visible to the snakes. Here the snakes are easily see the infrared uh, wavelengths or light. And ultraviolet lights are seen by insects will easily see the ultraviolet light. Okay, and visible lights, these are all lights, or these are all wavelengths from the sun. Okay, from the sun rays or sun radiations. And in longer wavelength, the wavelength is 100 meters. And if the shorter wavelength means 1 by 1000, 1 by 10 lakhs, means it's in the microns, very 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 small. Next, diagnostic X-ray. X-ray, it is also a solar radiations and gamma rays. Okay, and X-ray. There are so many types of rays. They are comes in the micro wavelengths. Clear? And these are all wavelengths having an energy. They're having an energy potentials, and these are all from the sun. And all these rays are not reaching to the earth surface. Okay, in the second picture you can able to see the incoming solar radiation is 100% from the sun. Whatever the energy is dissipated is 100%, but on the earth surface, whatever the energy is we are receiving, it is only 51 percentage, and 49 percentage of energy is waste. It is waste. uh, for this, I can quote one best example. Okay, uh, so for examination. Okay, so exam ಏನು ಮಾಡ್ತೀರಾ, you are going to study 100%, means all the 5 models you are going to study. Correct, all the 5 models you are going to study means you will read all the 5 models and get ready for 100%. But in the exam you are going to write. But ultimately, if you got the results, once the results are out, you won't get 100 out of 100. You will get 60, you will get 40, you will get 80, you will get 90. So what about the rest marks? So 10%, 10 marks, 20 marks, 30 marks, 40 marks. That is, so those marks are, you are going to lose those marks. Means it is a waste. Correct? Whatever the marks is obtained, it is the efficiency, means output by input. Output by input. So this gives the efficiency, means you want to get 100% of efficiency, 100 out of 100 you want to get. Means there is a loss due to because of the because of lack of time. So time iralla ನಿಮಗೆ ಬರೆಯೋಕ್ಕೆ. So lack of time, you are going to lose some marks. And lack of overconfidence, you are going to some marks. Or you don't know the answer, you are going to lose the marks. Or you may return wrong answer, you are going to lose the marks. Or due to evaluator mistake, you are going to lose the marks. So these are all criteria due to you are going to lose the marks. So loss of marks, and whatever the marks obtained, that gives the 100%. Okay, here also same thing, 100% from the sun, only we are getting 51 percentage, but rest of the percentage is waste in the form of reflection, refraction, okay, absorption, okay, and scattering. And these are all things, these are all a disturbance, these are all a friction. Okay, from this you are going to lose some energy. Only 51 percentage of energy is absorbed for the earth surface. Clear? And some of the energy means these are all UV rays, ultraviolet lights. They are very harmful for the human beings. But these ultraviolet rays are uh, they are filtered. They are filtered in the ozone itself. Ozone is the topmost layer of the earth crust. Okay, so that ozone will filter all these ultraviolet rays. Okay, X rays, gamma rays. They will filter all these rays. Okay, and only send to the visible light into the earth surface. Okay, some part of filtration taking place in the 100%, some 20 to 30% is filtered, again 70%, again in the 70%, because of the scattering, because of the absorption, because of the reflection, refraction, there is some amount of 20 to 25%, again it is wasted. Only 51 percentage reaches the earth. There is an depletion in the uh, solar radiation from the sun to earth surface. So some of the wavelengths, if you see approximately, okay, if you go with a wavelength, nearly the wavelength of mu microns, 0 to 0.38% of that wavelength, it is of approximated energy is 95 percentage megawatt per meter square. And next wavelength 38 to 0.78, that we will see in the infra this light spectra. Okay, uh, so that is 640 energy watt per meter square, so it increases the energy. And next 78.78 to 4.0 percentage, 618 energy watt per meter square. Okay, so it is approximately 45 percentage, and second wavelength is approximately 47 percentage, and very small wavelength is only 7 percentage. So this is only 7 percentage, and rest will have the more percentage of wavelengths. Okay, next is a solar radiation reaching on the earth surface. Solar radiation or solar rays reaching on the earth surface, and this the travel from sun to earth, and it is subjected to three factors. There are three factors contributing to the amount of incoming solar radiation. It is also called as insolation. Okay, insolation or solar radiations, both are same. And this solar radiation is decided by three factors. The three factors will decide. One is, the first factor is period of daylight. So daylight period, you may heard the long day and short day. The long day means the day length is more, it is more than 12 hours, it may be 13 hours, it may be 14 hours, or it may be 15 hours. Day length is more. If the day length is more, then obviously the solar radiation from the sun to the earth is also more. If the day length is very less, the period of day length is less, the night time is more, the daytime is less, means the less amount of solar radiation from the sun to earth, obviously it will reduce the solar radiation, that you can see. Okay, here June 21st or December 21st is called as a we can call it as a more day length day. The day length on June 21st and December 21st is more compared to the other days. The more daylight, day length. And in the March and September, the day length is less. In the March 21st and September 21st, the day length is less when compared to the noontime solar angle. Okay, so you can see here, here zero angle. Okay, 12 hours is directly the solar rays. Next, the means this earth is not a straight; it is a curve. It is just like a circular, so that the whatever the rays from the sun is not same throughout the Earth surface, it is varies with respect to the angles. Here 0 angle, 23 angle, 45 angle, 66 angle, 90 degree. Okay, in the 90 degree you will get the maximum solar radiations, and in the 0 degree on the north and south pole, the solar radiation is 0 degree, means it reaches very less amount of solar radiations to the north and south pole. So that in the north and south pole the temperature is very less, means it is less than 0. It may be -10, -20, -30, like this. Almost that is north and south pole covered by the icebergs. But in the mid of the earth, that is in the exactly 0 equator, we'll get a 90 degree. 90 degree means exact the solar radiation on that surface, so that there is a high temperature. The temperature of that surface is high when compared to the other surface of the earth, and it is 12 hours. Okay, so like this the solar angle have the effect on earth surface. Here also June 31st will get the maximum. Of course, some amount of the south poles will get the solar rays. On that, the icebergs slowly start melts. Okay, and here uh, the other surface of the earth will get the solar rays with respect to the angle. And this is the December 31st. Here, again the North Pole completely covers, and the daytime is only, the sun rays time is only 8 hours. Next 10 hours, 12 hours, 13 hours, 15 hours, 24 hours. So in the bottom, it is 24 hours. Means this surface continuously 24 hours exposed to the sun. But here only 8 hours exposed to the sun. And in the mid of the earth, it is only 13 hours and 15 hours. Slowly, the daytime increases from top to bottom. Here also same thing we can observe. The top, of course, is completely 24 hours exposed to the sun in the June 21st, the North Pole, and slowly the exposure of the Earth surface to the sun is 15 hours, 13 hours, 12 hours, 10 hours, 8 hours, and 0 in the South Pole. Okay, here there is no sun rays on this day, on June 21st day. And the same December 21st day, the same South Pole exposed to the 24 hours of the sun, and North Pole 24 hours. Here 0 sunlight, means in North Pole there is no sun rays, but in the South Pole 24 hours exposed to the sun. Again the days are varies. So like this it will varies. The inclination of the earth changes in December 21st to June 21st. And the second factor is solar angle. Again it's a first one is I told it is of the period of daylight, means the inclination of the earth to the sun, it will affect the period of daylight. And second is the angle of the solar. The angle of the solar means the angle which from solar rays come from the sun to the earth. It is not straight, it is straight at one time, and it is inclined at another time. Okay, in the noon time it is straight, and in the day and evening time it is inclined. Okay, this also affects to the solar radiation. You can see here the some of the amount of the light distributed over the larger area in A than the B. If this is a, see, it is a inclined A, so more area it will covers. It is exactly straight, only few area it covers. So like this, solar angle also contribute to the solar radiation, North Pole and South Pole, and it is in the some different angles on the Earth surface. And the last factor is beam depletion, means from the sun it is 100%, while traveling from the sun to the earth through a so many kilometers, nearly 1,55,000 kilometers from the sun to the earth, that much of distance is there. While traveling, the beam will start depleting. It is not, if it is 100%, next it will slowly decreases 80, 90, 50, 40, like this, and ultimately reaches to the earth surface by, it may be 40%, or it may be 30%, or it may be 50%. The beam depletion, is also if it is 100% reaches, means it will give the 100% energy to the earth surface, but it won't have 100% of that beam. It is a 50% of beam, only 50% of energy what we are getting. Okay, so like this you can see so many criterias will have for the depletion of if it is in the noon time, it's having some depletion, and if it is in the other time, having a depletion rate is varies. Okay, The next topic in the same chapter is the atmospheric effect on incoming solar radiation. So whatever the atmospheric effect on the incoming solar radiation, the solar radiation affected by daytime, okay, solar angle and depletion, beam depletion. Of course, these are the three factors which contributes. Apart from that, whatever the atmospheric effect means Earth having an atmosphere. So atmosphere means it is having an so many gases like oxygen, carbon dioxide, nitrogen, so many gases it containing our atmosphere, and that atmosphere completely covered by the earth surface, and this the thickness of the atmosphere varies from ground level to the top level. Okay, and also this will contribute to the change in the temperature, change in the pressure. The pressure in the bottom level it is not same in the top level. The temperature in the bottom level it is not same in the top level. Okay, so it varies. The atmospheric varies with the density, varies with the temperature, varies with the pressure, and this atmosphere is having some effect on solar radiations. The meeting will end in the just 5 minutes. Okay, we'll glance. So in the next class, we'll continue this atmospheric effect on incoming solar radiation.